Your homeowner just got their utility bill and they're ready to throw their HVAC contractor under the bus. But here's the thing. Most high energy bills have nothing to do with the equipment you installed. So, how do you prove it? Hi, I'm Chris Morin with HVAC Pro Blog, and I've been doing this for well over 20 years. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the call. Chris, my bills are crazy high. Something must be wrong with this new system. And 9 times out of 10, the system is running exactly the way it should be. The problem? Nobody taught the homeowner, or honestly most contractors, how to actually diagnose what's driving those high bills. Look, I get it. When you install a high efficiency heat pump and promise lower operating costs, then the homeowner sees a big number on the bill. You're the first person they're calling. But instead of getting defensive or making excuses, what if you had a systematic way to investigate and actually solve the problem? That's what we're covering today. The exact checklist to diagnose high energy bills and protect both reputation and customer relationships. Here's what most contractors miss. Energy consumption is a puzzle with multiple pieces. The HVAC system is just one piece. And if you jump straight to blaming the equipment without looking at everything else, you're either going to waste time on unnecessary service calls, or worse, damage your credibility when the real problem shows up later. So, let's start with the foundation. Before you even look at the equipment, you need to understand the baseline. What are we comparing against? I learned this the hard way about 15 years ago when a customer swore their new heat pump was costing them twice what their old furnace did. Turns out, they were comparing February to a summer month from the previous year, when they filled their tank at a much lower cost at that time. Completely different usage patterns. It's apples to oranges. So first thing on your checklist, get the actual data. And I mean all of it. You need at least 12 months of utility bills if possible. You're looking for patterns. Did bills spike suddenly or gradually increase? Are we seeing consistent high usage or just occasional peaks? And critically, what was happening with outdoor temperatures during these billing periods? Here's a pro tip that saved me countless times. Use heating degree days and cooling degree days. These are free on most weather service websites. They tell you how much heating and cooling was actually needed during a given period. When you normalize energy usage against degree days, suddenly you can see if the system is actually using more energy than it should, or if Mother Nature just decided to throw a brutal cold snap at you. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address: the building envelope. I've walked into homes where contractors installed beautiful, high-efficiency equipment into what is basically a colander with windows. You can have the most efficient heat pump on the planet, but if the house is losing heat faster than the system can produce it, of course those bills are going up. Your investigation needs to include a visual inspection of the thermal boundary. And I'm not talking about a quick walkthrough. I mean getting into the attic, checking the basement, looking at those band joists, examining window and door seals. You're hunting for the usual suspects: missing insulation, compressed insulation, gaps around penetrations, and unsealed attic hatches. Here's something I see all the time in New England. Homeowner gets a new heat pump, starts using it to heat areas that they never heated before because, hey, now they got efficient zone control with ductless heads or whatever. Suddenly, they're heating that bonus room above the garage that used to be 50 degrees all winter. Of course the bills went up. That's not a system problem, that's expanded comfort expectations. So, question number 2 on your checklist: has the conditioned space changed? Are they heating or cooling areas they didn't before? This is a conversation, not an interrogation. You're trying to understand how they are actually using the space. Now we get into the system themselves. And this is where your technical skills matter. Start with airflow. I don't care how efficient your equipment is rated, if you're moving the wrong amount of air, efficiency goes out the window. Check your static pressures, measure actual airflow, and compare it to what the manufacturer's specs and your design say should be moving. I found systems running at 60% of design airflow because someone didn't account for duct restrictions, or because the installer was too lazy to commission the system properly. The heat pump that's supposed to run at 42,000 BTUs, at reduced airflow you might be down to 24K or worse. And while you're checking airflow, don't skip the air filter. Sounds basic, right? But I've diagnosed high energy bills that were solved by a $20 filter change. Dirty filters restrict airflow, force the system to run longer, spike energy use. Easy fix if you can catch it. Temperature splits are your next diagnostic tool. On the cooling side, you should see something like 18 to 22 degrees between return and supply air, depending on the relative humidity. On the heating side, with a heat pump, maybe 20 to 30 depending on the outdoor conditions. If these numbers are off, you've got a problem. Could be refrigerant charge, could be airflow, could be a failing component. Here's where it gets interesting. Thermostat settings and programming. You would not believe how many high energy bill complaints come down to someone setting their heat to 74 degrees and wondering why their bills are through the roof. Or running the system in auto mode so it's constantly overcorrecting between heating and cooling. And never mind large setbacks, which create the use of supplemental heat to recover sometimes. Your checklist needs to include reviewing the actual thermostat settings with the homeowner, not just what they think they set it to, what it's actually set to. Check the programming schedule. Look for setbacks. See if they're using the hold feature and accidentally defeating all the energy saving programming that you set up. And this is critical. Check the recovery settings. Some thermostats will fire up auxiliary heat to hit temperature faster on recovery from setback. If that's happening every morning when they wake up, they're paying for expensive resistance heat when the heat pump alone could have handled it, given it more time. Let's talk about something most contractors completely ignore: plug loads and other energy uses. Your homeowner sees one big number on their electric bill. They don't see a breakdown between HVAC and everything else unless they're really digging into their utility data. So when they got their teenager a gaming PC for Christmas and it runs 24/7, or when they added a hot tub, or when they switched to an electric car, they amazingly might not connect that to their higher bill. This is where you need to be part detective, part educator. Ask about changes in the home, maybe some new appliances. Are there more people living there? Are you working from home now instead of going to the office? All of these impact total energy use. And if you can identify them, you can show the homeowner that their HVAC system isn't the villain that they thought it was. Speaking of detective work, check the heat pump itself for proper operation across different modes. Is it actually switching into heating mode when it should? Is the defrost cycle working properly, or is it defrosting too often? Excessive defrost cycles absolutely kill efficiency and jack up energy use. And here's one that trips even the most experienced contractors. Check the balance point and lockout settings. If the system is bringing on auxiliary heat too early, let's say at 40 degrees outside when the heat pump can still handle the load efficiently down to 20, you're burning through electricity running resistance heat unnecessarily. Now, we need to talk about ductwork because this is where good intentions meet poor execution a lot of the time. You can install the most efficient equipment made, but if you're delivering that conditioned air through leaky, uninsulated ducts, running through unconditioned space, you're losing 20, 30, sometimes 40% of your energy before it even gets to the living space. Your checklist has to include a duct inspection. Visual leaks, disconnected sections, crushed ducts, missing or damaged insulation. If you can access ductwork, do it. And if the homeowner is serious about solving their energy bills, you might need to recommend a proper duct leakage test and sealing. Here's something else that gets overlooked: distribution design. Maybe the original duct system was barely adequate for a furnace running at one speed. Now you've got a heat pump trying to distribute heat effectively at lower temperature and variable speeds. If the duct system isn't designed for proper air distribution with this new equipment, you're going to have comfort complaints and the system's going to run longer trying to satisfy all those zones. All right, let's address the behavioral component because this is uncomfortable but necessary. Sometimes high energy bills are the result of how people use their systems. Constantly adjusting the thermostat, opening windows while the heat's running, blocking supply vents with furniture, running bathroom exhaust fans 24/7 and depressurizing the house. You need to have an honest conversation about these usage patterns, not in a judgmental way, in an educational way. Help them understand that their system is designed to maintain temperature, not constantly chase temperature changes. Show them how their behaviors impact energy consumption, and document everything, every measurement, every observation, every conversation. Because when you present your findings, you need to back them up with data, not just opinions. Show them the static pressure readings. Show them the temperature splits. Show them the degree day comparison. Make it objective. All right, here's your final checklist item before you wrap up the investigation. Check for any utility company programs or rate structure changes. Sometimes bills go up simply because the electric rate increased, or the customer got shifted to a time of use rate structure, let's say. This has nothing to do with your system, but you need to rule it out. Once you've gone through this entire process, you'll have one of three outcomes. 1, you find a legitimate system issue that needs correction. 2, you identify building or behavioral issues that are driving high energy use, and you can make recommendations. Or 3, you can show the customer that their system is actually performing well, and their bills are justified by actual conditions or usage. The key is that you've done your homework. You've investigated systematically instead of reactively. You've protected your reputation while actually solving the customer's real problem, even if that problem wasn't what they thought it was. This is how you can turn a complaint call into an opportunity. Show your expertise, build trust, and position yourself as the contractor who actually knows what they're doing instead of just making excuses. If you want to learn more about system diagnostics and building science principles that make you the go-to contractor in your market, to get a complete framework for implementing this in your business and evaluating every weak link in your current process, watch the 15-point HVAC system design audit that shows you exactly where your money's fallen through the cracks. I'll see you soon.